it would have been really easy to take this path of just throwing out all these shocking statistics. Generation Z, 7% of Gen Zers identify as transgender or non-binary. That's 1 in 15.
Yeah. Welcome to The Gathering Greenhouse, a podcast to help us grow together. I'm Steve.
I'm David.
I'm John.
And
that's Matt.
Our invisible friend. Welcome back.
He's not invisible. Yeah. We can all see him.
Well, I was saying silent, but we know he's not silent. So I said invisible because you can't see him on the camera. We have no camera on him, so.
What if you had like an invisible friend?
Well, how do you know I don't?
What would, if you had an invisible friend,
yeah,
that's what I want to know. What's his name?
I'm trying to think of Navid.
I always wanted to have a like solo act.
I was trying to think of something close to David because...
Yeah, there's not a lot that rhymes with David.
No, it didn't work.
I always wanted to have like a solo music act and call it John and His Imaginary Friends. And it would just be me by myself playing with nobody on stage. But I would like talk to them. Like, give me some more snare.
That whole interaction was just a little bit like the Office episode.
Yeah.
Where Dwight is like ratting out Michael. And then Michael's like, where have you been, Dwight? I went to the dentist. And what's his name?
I just watched this episode.
Crentist?
So they put out all the Superfan episodes.
Yeah.
So they're, instead of like 21 minutes, they're all like 40 minutes of just bonus content, like bloopers. And it's actually been like really enjoyable because it's still funny stuff, but it completely changes a lot of the storylines. There's some stuff that was really left out. That,
like when you say they put out, who put
NBC.
So where do you watch this?
Peacock.
Okay.
But I was going to say, welcome back.
Can we get this? No, I was
to the future.
I was here last week. You want me to say, you're being like passive aggressive.
Yeah.
And trying to get me to say welcome. We're so glad to have Steve back. Welcome back, Steve.
Oh,
to the future.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, we got Marty McFly.
Marty McFly over here.
That whole thing was just a setup to get that?
Maybe.
You guys. So we actually have a Marty McFly jacket for Roscoe, too.
That's awesome.
Sometimes we go for walks and we both wear our vests. Yeah.
I think Back to the Future, that trilogy is one of the most underrated trilogies. Like it's never talked about in the greatest trilogies.
But the third one is honestly...
Yeah, that one's kind of rough.
No, the second one too.
The
first movie's really good.
Yeah.
The second and third are not great.
The second one, I think, there's so many like iconic moments in it, like the hoverboard.
I think the Nikes that tie themselves.
Yeah, the Nikes that tie themselves. All of those things, I think, make it like a more memorable. But the third one, like the whole...
It's a train.
The whole train thing.
Yeah, I think... But
the future's cool.
I think that's the reason why it doesn't get named. Is normally a good trilogy, 1 and 3 are the really best ones.
Yeah.
And 2 really gets you from 1 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Star Wars, I think, too.
You're talking about the orcs and the...
No, those are all good, man. No, actually, I would say in the Lord of the Rings, 2 is my favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you'd say... I mean, it's probably more than a trilogy.
Or movies?
The movies, the trilogy, yeah.
But there's more to that. They just filmed the trilogy, right? There's much more to the Lord of the Rings stuff. No, there's only 3.
There's more to Tolkien's universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like you got the Hobbit, and you got the Silmarillion.
And those things interact like Star Wars or not?
So, yeah, I mean, like, what do you guys, you Star Wars geeks have like your canon stuff, right?
Canon versus Legends. And,
yeah. So I guess
Disney messed some of that stuff up.
So Tolkien did create like a whole world, and he wrote about it. And the Silmarillion is really where a lot of that is pulled together. But there's also some of his writings that never got published that they pulled out.
They've been publishing a lot of it,
right? Like he created his own language, like the Elven language. That's a little over the top. That's just, I mean, like, you maybe need to do something better with your time. And
Speaking
I like
of invisible friends,
I like him.
Speaking to them in an invisible elf language.
What's the difference between having invisible friends and not having any friends? And not having any, like...
Not much of a difference. I don't know which one is worse, but...
Or better.
I think having invisible friends is worse because you'd be like, no, I have friends. And we'd be like, no, you don't. No, I swear I have friends. No, you don't. But if everyone just knew you didn't have friends, it wouldn't be a big deal.
Some of us don't care.
Yeah.
See, I think the invisible
David, what's it
girlfriend,
like
the
having
invisible
invisible
girlfriend
friends?
is the worst
idea.
one.
Like,
She's real. She lives in Canada.
Yeah. She's a supermodel. I got a picture of her.
like, why would I want an invisible friend? I don't even want friends. So,
Did you have imaginary friends growing up?
An invisible pet might be nice.
I had an entire imaginary football league.
Were you the commissioner?
Yeah, and the player. Okay. No, I actually, you guys, I don't know if you ever played with the Tudor football. It's the electric football that you turn it on and it vibrates.
Yeah, no, I haven't.
And then when it
Looks like
vibrates,
fun,
the
though.
players move. It's actually, it's pretty, I mean, but I loved it. So I actually, had a whole bunch of teams that I bought the teams over time, and like they would play, and I'd just sit in my room after school every day playing Tudor football by myself, listening to WGN radio out of Chicago, talk radio.
Uh-huh.
This is when I was like 8.
Well, were you
But-
sports stuff
No,
or
just,
something?
just talk radio, just like WGN. It's not. It's like it's kind
they
of
bring up a
political.
topic?
Yeah, just topical.
Topics,
Yeah,
topical.
But so then I'd keep stats for my league. So like every play,
Oh my
I'd
gosh.
run the play and then I'd jot it down. And at the end of the day, I'd dump it all into a different notebook where I had charts and stuff. Because we didn't have a computer yet, so there were no spreadsheets or anything like that.
I don't even know where to go from there on that. That's insane.
When I got older, I gave it up.
Okay.
Like when I got into middle school,
When I turned 11, I was like, this is childish.
Well, so I gave it up for a baseball game. It's like where you could spin the little wheel.
Yeah.
And it would tell you like if it was a
Yep.
single, double, triple. So also in that, I had my own league that I made up, and I tracked every play and kept stats. And I did that for years. Like I had guys in my league in my notebooks that had over 1,000 at bats. So
Wow.
yeah,
Intense.
you don't need friends.
So when it's really just you, what's the point of having the different people? Because like there's no skill then. Or were you like, I'm going to be left-handed or right-handed when I spin,
I would just spin both.
How would you...
Competition.
The whole
Like,
point
did you have
no-
players
would there
who
be
were
no
better than other players in your made-up league if it was still just you spinning
well,
the
so
wheel?
you actually have real
We're going
players.
way down this rabbit hole.
So the player discs are based on real
you add
players.
those in. Okay.
So like
There are stats.
right. So like I had like Lou Whitaker, one of my all-time favorite players. Right. Like his disc was based on his actual statistics. So over
Gotcha,
time,
so the likelihood of him getting
his
hit was
stats
higher.
would mirror his own stats.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So back then, the Tigers were really good. So a lot of my favorite players were really good.
I brought in a little something. I actually had this planned for a while ago, but it's
Are they fresh?
well,
Well,
you know,
he got him for Valentine's Day last year.
last year's Valentine's Day. It actually comes
Those
with
nut-
Valentine's Day's cards on it. So if anyone wants some for next year, but
Wait. Are they implying that Little Debbie's are for sharing?
the Nutter Butters
That
are.
is not true.
But I don't know if these ones particular. That's the one nice thing about Nutter Butter. These are all individual ones. But did anybody grow up getting Nutter Butter in their lunches?
No.
No one did.
It was like
For
a
some
treat
reason I did.
that we got from
So
the gas
we
station.
my family would get Nutter Butters, right?
Yeah.
They get like how many in a box? Like 10.
Look how I just want to
that
see.
would last us 10
but
weeks.
look how
so
thin.
different. They're
Look
thicker.
how thin. They're thicker.
No, Nutter Butters are supposed to be thicker than that, right?
Yes.
yeah.
Are these, wait, what are these called?
These are called Nutty Buddies.
Yeah.
I think Nutter Butter is
an abomination.
Is the cookie.
Is there? See, there's not going to be peanut butter in this.
Well, it says Nutty peanut butter wafer bar. Yeah, so
The picture
But why is
doesn't
it
look
pink?
like
it doesn't look. That's what I thought at
It
first.
smells like it.
It's
So we
got
just
peanut
got
butter in it.
we just got these pretzels at Costco, and I really shouldn't say anything about this because I don't want them to sell out. But they're yogurt covered. They're pink yogurt covered pretzels.
And they're really good.
So they're so good. We got a bag just to try them out.
Just slammed it in a day.
And we had just for the first day, and Marianne said, "Can you go back to Costco tomorrow?"
I've had that
She said,
happen. too.
in case they sell out. So I had to go back and get a bunch more bags and stock our closet.
Stock 'em up.
Yeah.
They're that good.
Good thing for
Okay.
you where you live, you have access to like 3 Costco's
yeah,
within
so
It's
these
yeah,
yes.
you can smell the peanut butter from the outside.
I know, it smells like a Nutter Butter.
But this is what we call
Yeah.
shrinkflation right here. This is a classic case of
Mm-hmm.
this used to be the normal size, right? Like
Yep.
Should we spend some time talking about whose fault that is?
whose fault is it?
Shrinkflation.
Is it like you saying like a political person or
I'm not saying anything.
oh
I'm
you're
just
saying
asking the
addressing
question.
who's
We'll let you in the comments tell us who you think is responsible for the world
let's
just
talk
being
about
awful
it.
right
Who
now.
or what?
And which political
try.
candidate are you voting for?
Okay.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's not what I would. I don't know.
But is it better?
No.
Chocolate. The dark chocolate's better.
I'm going to tell you guys what I think. This tastes exactly like a Nutter Butter.
Wait. Which is the peanut
A Nutty
shaped cookie?
Buddy or a Nutter Butter?
No, to me, I can kind of get a hint that it's not chocolate, but all in all, to me, it feels like I'm eating a Nutter Butter.
But not a Nutty Buddy.
I've
So
never
is-
had a Nutty Buddy.
Well, this is a Nutty Buddy.
I know.
I think Nutter
So
Butter.
a Nutter Butter is the cookie.
The cookies.
What's the original version of?
peanut-shaped cookie is a Nutter
Oh,
Butter.
you're right.
So what's
not
the
a-
peanut butter
Nutty
wafer?
Buddy is this style.
Wait, that's called a Nutty Buddy?
This is called a Nutty Buddy, and they have a dark, like not a milk chocolate
regular
version.
one.
It's a regular
so
one.
this tastes like that. Like
This tastes like a Nutty
what
Buddy.
you get at the
Yeah,
gas station.
a Nutty
That's what I
Buddy-
mean. That's the
Yeah.
Nutty Buddy.
I like
The
the
Nutter
original
Butter
Nutty Buddy
is the
better.
Cookie.
Than this.
So
for
you
sure.
can't tell a difference between this and a regular one. The only difference
Right.
is
So,
Now, in fairness, today is a bad day.
Okay, 'cause-
because my allergies are really bad today, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think my taste buds are really.
Here's what it is. Because they shrunk the wafer in the middle, there's more icing to wafer. That ratio's changed.
yeah.
And it's kind of that to me is what's throwing me off. Is there's way more icing per bite.
Yeah. See, the thing I think that's throwing me off is that this is a little sweeter than the milk chocolate one, and I think that's throwing it off.
There's
But
nothing throwing me off. I like it.
You like it?
That's good.
Oh, I would not
I like it
complain.
too.
Like I'd eat these.
Yeah.
Honestly,
But-
as a kid, this may sound weird, but I've always felt like they were way too big.
What is wrong with you, Steve?
I had a hard time eating two because they'd come in packs of two. So I always had a hard time eating all of them. I would usually become tired of eating it. So, hey,
never
maybe
been
they're
tired of
onto
eating
something
anything in
here.
my
with
life.
Did you hear a word he
Valentine's.
just said?
What did I say?
I don't
think-
know.
Oh,
So let me say,
Oh, a
say
word.
what I just heard. Steve just said that Nutty Buddies were so big
yeah.
that he would get tired of eating them
Yeah.
before finishing them.
Yes.
I've never been tired of eating something. Maybe
I don't
that's
know.
why we look different. I don't know.
As a kid, maybe now it would be different, but I do remember having Nutty Buddies a lot.
I feel like
growing
Nutty
up,
Buddies were like
but-
the cheapest
Yeah.
like option of those like snack cakes.
They
and
were
stuff.
probably like $1.29 for like a whole box.
I'll tell you what, I'm a sucker for the little wafers that come in like the big long pack.
Yeah, me
Like the
too.
little
I
tiny
loved
ones?
those growing up.
Oh, those are my favorite.
Wortmans.
Is that the brand?
David knows.
Oh yeah.
Like
Oh,
all of
yeah.
them are good. The strawberry's good. Vanilla's
Strawberry
good. The
vanilla,
chocolate's really
chocolate.
good.
Oh, chocolate's my least favorite. But
Really?
I agree with that.
The vanilla
I think
was
the
my favorite.
Vanilla's number one. For
Strawberry number 2.
Sure. Yep. Somebody should do a Neapolitan one.
Ooh, that's
Every third is it changes every.
No, like one wafer is vanilla.
Oh, stacked
and
this
one
way, yeah.
wafer is strawberry, and the
All right,
cream
I'm gonna
is
look.
chocolate.
I'm gonna look for this.
I have
Let's
seen
see.
that somewhere.
Okay. Well, everyone needs to be on the lookout.
He looks so
We need-
mad right
We need
now.
to bring this in here.
I've seen that somewhere.
I've only seen that. I've only seen
but
that
if
look
you
one
find
other
it,
time on
we
Matt, and he was
also
getting somebody fired
We
at
also need
Duncan.
to compare it to just the best one, the vanilla.
This podcast is descending into chaos.
It is. Okay. Into chaos. Okay, so we have
I'm gonna have another one
we
of these
have
while
some,
you talk.
sermon type questions. We'll just say other questions.
Other questions?
Other questions. But I did have a sermon question, if it's okay. It's not
Well, you can
more
always
about sermon.
ask.
It's more about sermon prep.
Yeah, you can always ask. Just remember, there's no stupid questions.
Okay. So my question is
Only stupid people.
only stupid people is I thought you did a great job with the sermon on Sunday. That's not a question. That's a
Thanks.
statement. But
Raises don't happen until January.
You got one?
But my question is, you took a lot of time setting up the sermon
You mean this
this Sunday.
Okay. All right.
You don't always do that. Sometimes you do, and I feel like you do it. You spend a little bit more time when you know that there's a topic that could be misunderstood, or that maybe you need to do a little disarming before you go right into the topic. And I don't really know of a more hot topic for our time right now than the one that we addressed on Sunday, where so many people already have predetermined opinions on it going into it. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about your sermon prep.
Okay.
Why? So Could you explain a little bit the why behind, why did you want to set it up in a way that kind of explained the heart behind some of the topics that we were going to get into that day?
Yeah. So, I know what you're saying. I'm not sure that my intent was to quite do what you're saying.
Yeah.
Although I know it felt that way. So this sermon on Sunday, probably I cut more material out of this sermon than I've cut out of a sermon probably in a couple of years. Just because you only have so much time.
Yeah.
It still went long.
Yeah.
But when you think about the topic and the sermon, if you didn't see it, you can go back and watch it on somewhere on this channel.
We'll link it below.
Was about what does the Bible say about gender?
Yeah.
And like you said, yeah, it's a hot topic. Obviously, it's a hugely hot topic. But it would have been really easy to take this path of just throwing out all these shocking statistics. And actually, in one service, I did talk more about statistics, but I ran out of time, so I cut all that out.
So the earlier?
And in the first service...
So here's a plug for the first service. You may get some bonus material.
No, the second service is where the best sermon is usually.
Okay.
Usually the best sermon is second service.
Best sermon, second service, bonus material, first service. So there's a couple different reasons to go a little earlier.
So I had already cut out, but like statistics, like there's some shocking things out there. Generation Z, 7% of Gen Zers identify as transgender or non-binary. That's 1 in 15.
Yeah,
that's a really shocking number.
And did you dive into any of the why behind that when you were getting ready for the sermon?
So I'll recommend a book.
Okay,
I can't remember the title of it, so maybe we'll have to.
We'll put a link in the description.
It's Abigail Schreier is the author. So look up Abigail Schreier and get us the title of her book. It's more about women and girls, but Abigail Schreier is not a Christian. She's not religious. She's a Harvard trained person. But she wrote a book a couple years ago that actually got canceled from Amazon. She got canceled off of Twitter prior to Elon stepping in.
Yeah.
But
Elon.
She has really unique perspectives on how particularly among Generation Z and particularly among girls, this gender ambiguity is almost like it's almost like a virus. Just is spreading so fast.
Yeah.
And we see movements happen. Every generation has a movement. I'm not sure mine did, but that's why we're the slacker generation, right? But
the forgotten generation.
Most generations have movements, and this seems to be the Gen Z movement. I would say the shocking thing, and the numbers are really surprising. More than 50% of Gen Zers believe there are more than two genders. And 3 years ago, in 2019, that number was below 35%. So that fast in just 3 years, that many Gen Zers have changed their minds about that. And you look at the other generations, none of the other generations have moved that quickly. Most of the other generations are still down around a third or less than a third. But for Gen Z, that's skyrocketed. So there's a lot of statistics like that would have been easy to make a part of the sermon, just, kind of shock people how this is terrible and, it's impacting everyone. Or we could have gone down the route of talking about pronouns and, why it's important to not use other people's pronouns. And, obviously there's a ton of stuff you can talk about. And I could have easily filled my sermon just talking about all that stuff and telling everybody how bad it was. And for a lot of people, that would have been great. And I probably would have gotten a lot more congratulations and well dones if I'd gone that route.
So do you pick the goal of like, hey, who am I speaking to? Who am I trying to like help form their opinion, change their mind, whatever, move them one step closer towards what God's plan is for people? Like, are you picking an audience for the majority of it? Because I know at times you speak to one group and then at times you kind of speak to another group.
Yeah. Well, with this one, I was very specifically preaching to the church, right?
Our church.
The church.
Okay.
But yes, obviously our church specifically, but the church in general, to say, hey, this is, I think, a biblical perspective on this topic. Now, it felt like I was setting the whole topic up for a long time.
Yeah.
I wasn't actually doing that.
Okay.
I actually answered the question like in the first 8 minutes of the sermon.
Yeah.
And this was very intentional. I normally wouldn't preach like this, but this was very intentional. So I read Genesis 1, 27, 28, right? Male and female, he created them. And I just said right there, that's it. Just those two. And I took a brief moment to unpack that, talk about biologically, genetically, scientifically, reproductively, all that stuff. And then I was pretty much at that point, I was actually done talking about the gender issue because I'd answered the question. The Bible says there's two genders, male and female, and that's it. And science agrees with the Bible on this issue. They agree genetically, they agree biologically, reproductive science. I mean, it's verifiable, it's provable. Question answered. So really then the rest of the sermon was less of a, oh no, the transgender movement is terrible, and more of a, let's talk about this question of our minds and our bodies. Because that's really what's at the heart of it. So a person who is, working through maybe gender confusion, what's really at the heart of that is my mind and my body aren't getting along. Mm-hmm. That's actually not an uncommon struggle. Everybody struggles with that. For this generation, that struggle has become sexual. But it's not always that way. We all struggle with our minds and our bodies. And so I thought, the better direction to go with this is to say, what does the Bible say about this mind versus body struggle? And so we actually spent way more of our time there because I thought that was helpful.
Well, yeah, and there's a good verse, Paul talking about that you referenced.
Yeah, yeah, well, that's good. So to answer your question about who am I speaking to, oftentimes it's less about me picking a target audience and more about me wanting to make sure that every sermon gets to so what. Mm-hmm. Right? I don't just want to feed people's minds. I don't want to just throw out a bunch of information for them. I want to get to so what. Like, so what does this mean for me? Mm-hmm. And this could have been an easy sermon to say, hey, if you're not dealing with transgender stuff, then this sermon's not for you. Or if somebody in your family's not dealing with it, then this sermon's not for you. I didn't want to leave this sermon there. So I wanted to make sure I got somewhere where, hey, this really is for all of us. Mm-hmm. So, and, I think I got there.
Yeah. Another good one, because you referenced that book, Mama Bear Apologetics, also covers a lot in that, and talking with the school systems and stuff too. So there's some good podcasts that they have and their book as well.
If you're a parent and you want to know how to walk through this stuff with your kids, I highly recommend Mama Bear Apologetics.
They do a good job with it.
Yes. Irreversible Damage.
Yep. Irreversible Damage by
Abigail Schreier.
Abigail Schreier.
There you go.
Yep.
And Mama Bear Apologetics.
And Mama Bear Apologetics. Good stuff, both of them.
Yeah.
So, all right, are we done?
Let's go. No, we got a couple more things. Okay. So we have this thing called Deep Dive coming up.
Yep.
And it's going to be this Wednesday, right?
Correct. So this is going to...
couple days.
What do we call it when we drop, right?
We're dropping it on Wednesday. So it's going to be
tonight.
This is dropping. So tonight is the first deep dive.
Tonight, yes. Why are we doing it this week specifically?
Is that the question?
Mm-hmm.
All right. That is.
So what's the deep dive?
Yeah. So
then why are we doing it this week?
Yeah. So that question wasn't phrased very well. So
okay.
So we're doing a deep dive this week. Why are we doing it? What is it?
Okay.
Yeah. So the deep dive is it's this time we're basically the best way to describe it is it's a time of extended Bible teaching.
Yeah.
Right. And so not a regular church service where there's lots of other stuff going on. We're just going to really zero in and say, hey, this is going to be a time that's just devoted to teaching the Bible. Mm-hmm. And so what we're going to do is we're going to dive into some of the stuff we couldn't cover in the sermon series.
Yeah.
So, our series, we covered marriage, divorce, sexuality, and gender. All of those topics come back to this question of male-female, right? The male-female relationship. And so to really, unpack any of that truth, you got to have that baseline. So we're going to spend 2 weeks, this week and then next week, talking about what does the Bible say about being a man and what does the Bible say about being a woman. And we're going to try, hopefully we can do this, we're going to try to look at the teaching of the whole Bible on these topics.
Yeah.
And talk really specifically about, manhood at its essence and womanhood at its essence, and then talk about what does it look like for us to play out the roles that God designed us to play out And so, obviously, if you're a man, some of the roles that you're going to play over the course of your life, most likely are you're going to be a husband, you're going to be a father. And if you're a woman, you're going to be a wife and you're going to be a mother. And we're going to talk about those and how that works. In the second week, we'll also get into some of the questions that women have to deal with about being in the church. Right? What is allowed for women in the church? Are they allowed to be pastors? Are they allowed to be elders? Or, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to unpack all of that. It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
In the midst of that, I'm going to be spending some time talking about how I personally study the Bible. And the goal there is, as we walk through some of these teachings, I can say, look, here's how I got here. And show people that studying the Bible doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be complicated. And hopefully give some tips and tricks that people can say, hey, I can go do that on my own. And then they can begin to do their own deep dives. If things go as planned, we'll have some time for question and answer.
Yeah.
Maybe some discussion as well. So we'll see.
Okay, so are all of them open to men and women? Because one is specifically about men and one specifically about women.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you'd recommend
I would, yeah, for sure.
everybody to go to
Absolutely.
everyone.
I think it's helpful for us to hear what the Bible says about both sides of the issue. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, what we don't want is for wives to come the first week and make a checklist and say to their husband, here's all the things you're not doing, right? And we don't want husbands to go the second week and say, here's all the things you're not doing. We don't want that.
Gotcha.
But we'll hopefully get some better understanding.
That's a lot. It sounds like a lot of material you're going to cover.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Yes.
So if this goes well, will there be other deep dives, or is this kind of a one-off kind of thing?
No, I think potentially there could be more.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I've got one that's kind of percolating in my mind right now about our sermon series after Easter.
Okay.
Possibly having one deep dive for that one. Yeah.
All right. Great. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I know that our group is we meet on Wednesdays, so our group is taking a break so that we can come to both of those and then starting back up
maybe
again.
we should have like a group discussion guide so that groups can come and do the deep dive if they want to, have a discussion time after that. Maybe we'll think about that.
Okay.
We'll see. That might be asking a little much.
Yeah. There might not be a ton of time.
And I might not have a ton of time to come up with questions.
Well, that's true, too. Yeah.
We'll see.
Okay. So let's talk about the next sermon series. What's our next sermon series going to be about?
Yeah. So our next sermon series is called Gathering the Harvest.
Okay.
The Bible has a lot of these images of farming and agriculture. And there's a lot we can learn from that, right? The concept of harvest it pops up over and over in a lot of different ways. So we're going to explore some of that and what that looks like. And I think that moving into the Easter season, this is going to be a really good chance for us to think about what it means to be, people who are aware of the harvest around us, and what does that even mean? So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. The first sermon will be this Sunday. We'll be talking about Jesus' parable of the sower.
Okay,
which I've preached on that parable here before, but I think it'll be a little bit different than last time I did it.
Okay,
what were they sewing? Like a shirt?
Yes. They're sewing like the back pocket on the jeans was ripping off, so they had to. Do you guys ever have that happen?
Did it get bedazzled?
No,
I don't think so.
I think it's because I got this big phone that I've had two pairs of jeans where the back pocket has started to rip off.
Really? I've had the front
either that
pocket.
Or it's Eddie Bauer makes cheap jeans.
They do.
Eddie Bauer, don't buy their jeans. I've gone back to Gap.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm really happy with it too.
I don't know if you're serious right now. Are you?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm wearing Gap jeans right now.
This episode is brought to you by The Gap.
Not The Gap, just Gap. It's kind of like Ukraine. It's not the Ukraine, it's Ukraine.
Isn't it the Gap?
I don't have no idea. Is it the Old Navy?
No, I think
The
it's
Banana Republic?
I think it's Old Navy, but I think it's The Gap.
I don't know.
Wait, is what is it? Is it Aeropostale? Are they part of that family too?
Where did you go to a Gap? I wouldn't even know where to go.
Sam's Club has Gap.
Oh, do they?
No.
Do they really?
Yeah.
I don't have a Sam's Club card.
Okay, final guesses on.
I'm gonna go with.
Doesn't
The
matter.
Gap.
I mean, his authority is this Google search, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Why
okay.
not?
What's the logo say?
the logo says Gap, but the official incorporated name, The Gap.
So
What's the
you're both
official
right.
incorporated name of our church?
The Grace Movement.
Grace movement.
Does anybody call it that? No, we call it the Gathering. So it's Gap.
Kroger's.
Kroger's, Barnes and Nobles.
The Aldi's.
Yes. What's the website for Gap?
Outofbusiness.com.
Goingoutofbusinessslowly.com.
This weekend only.
Actually, Gap has returned to its roots, and I think that's
Their jeans.
well, just across the board. Like last time I was in there, I was like, you know what this feels like for a long time.
It's because the 90s are bad.
Or the 80s.
The 80s, yeah.
For a long time, it felt like they kind of lost their way, and I think what they realized was we're not going to make it if we try to sell to millennials and Gen Zers. So we're going to try to sell to those Gen Xers.
Where did you go to a Gap?
Wouldn't you like to know?
I was curious because I don't know of any around here.
I think we went to Rookwood.
Like outlet?
Rookwood in Cincinnati.
Okay. I know there's a one at the outlets. There's a Gap.
There is
outlet.
one, yeah. Yep.
It's the only place.
There's not one up in Beaver Creek?
I don't know. I don't go
know.
up that way.
It's so far away.
Yeah.
It's closer to
But there's
John.
not one at the Green?
There's an Old Navy at the Green.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think there's Gap. What's the website?
Gap.com.
Boom. Boom.
Ouch.
This episode is brought to you by Gap.com.
All right. Well, that's
Gap jeans.
I think that's
better than Eddie Bauer.
I wear a Levi's.
Technically, if you had a gap in your jeans from Eddie Bauer.
From Eddie Bauer, yeah. Right.
I did do American Eagle for a while, but they're the trashiest jeans. They would my right knee would blow out like 6 months. It would just split open.
I've got
Levi's
Too
or
much
die.
prayer.
I've got
Yes, that's it. I don't really wear my jeans when I'm praying though.
American Eagle jeans that are still practically brand new.
American Eagle.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Let's got the wrong
quick
one.
poll.
Yeah.
American Eagle or Eddie Bauer?
American
Eddie
Just
Bauer.
across- John?
I've never owned either.
I mean, not just jeans, just across the board.
Across the board, I want to know what the difference between an Eddie Bauer and a.
All right, so you say
I'll say
American
American
Eagle, you say Eddie Bauer, you
gonna say
say
Eddie
you
Bauer.
don't know, and I say Columbia.
I have this is Eddie Bauer shirt I'm wearing right
This
here.
is Columbia. We match.
Eddie Bauer shirt.
This is Columbia. So
I buy all my clothes from the Gathering Gear tab on the website.
Oh, plug.
there's a tab for that.
Yep.
Serious? What?
There's been for a while.
So if you
now.
want a shirt,
Like
isn't
maybe like
that
3
like
months.
isn't that like changing money in the temple?
except we don't touch the money and we make
we
$0.
don't make a profit, so I don't know how
So it's
that would
just
be.
so if you want to buy Gathering gear, you
Gear.
just
order
get it for cost.
Yep, at cost.
Link in the show description.
Someone's
Okay.
making money off. It's not us.
Not us.
We don't have any tables to flip, so
Yeah. You know, that would be kind of
Put
a
some
fun
tables up.
game to play sometimes. Get a whole
Table
bunch of
flipping?
different tables and see if you could like actually flip them. Like you have to like flip it up and see if it'll spin around and land
like
on its
like the
legs.
bottom.
I
the
have
water
always,
bottle thing.
of all the Jesus stories,
Yeah, like the bottle
that
thing.
I would love to have seen that one. Him going in and flipping tables. I don't know.
I would
it
have liked
sounds
to have
cool.
seen the resurrection, Steve.
I don't know if you would have been around to see that though. It was behind. You'd had to be inside. of the
I'm an early riser.
You'd had to be inside the tomb. We'd have to lock you in there. You'd have to wait. We'd put some. We'd throw some Nutty Buddies in there for you.
Thanks.
Wait around. Speaking of Back to the Future,
Are we done?
we are done. Well, thank you. This podcast is sponsored by Back to the Future 3 and
The best
Gap
one.
jeans.
Let's go have a tab.
What did Marty McFly wear?
All right.